Good morning, good day. Glad to see you. SWU education majors, then this is the best major in Southern Wesleyan University. Go yay, yay. So I am Dr. Sandra McLendon, and I'm the Dean of School of Education. I will ask each one of these folks, these wonderful students here, to introduce themselves and tell their major at Southern Wesleyan.
Well, I will start. Hello, everyone. My name is Cullen Finley. I am a senior at Southern Wesleyan, yay. But an elementary education major. I will be continuing my student teaching this coming fall, if all goes well, due to COVID. But other than that, I'm super excited for this opportunity.
My name is Kennedy Kish, and I am a rising senior this upcoming fall. I'm a special education major, and I will start the preclinical and clinical experiences, and I am so excited and can't wait.
My name is Catherine, and like Kennedy, I will be a rising senior in the fall. I'm an early childhood education major, and I'm looking forward to starting preclinical.
Very good. We're so excited that you guys are interested in listening to these folks and hearing some of their experiences, because we really want you to come to Southern Wesleyan University. We will now ask Cullen to talk just a little bit about his experience as a commuter.
Okay, so I am a commuter to SWU, which has been an awesome experience so far. I've never had a bad experience commuting or anything like that. All of our professors, not just in the education department, but all across campus, are super understanding of if little things come up, like if you have a flat tire or if you get behind a tractor, because we do live in the South, and believe it or not, that does frequently. But
Yes,
if you get behind a tractor or something, they're super understanding as long as you are communicating and as long as you are aware of what you're expected to do. It all works out. And as far as campus life, being a commuter, it's really no different. I have the opportunities to attend every event, every social event, everything that campus has to offer, which is a lot of stuff. I spend a lot of time in Blue Hill. I see so many people all across campus. I'm involved in student productions and the fine arts department. And so being a commuter really doesn't slow a student down to do anything and everything that the university has to offer. You just kind of have to put yourself out there, of course, and make that decision on what you want to be involved in.
Thank you. Now, I think Kennedy and Catherine are residence hall students.
Yes, ma'am.
So maybe they together would like to talk about their residence hall experience.
I can go first. So for myself, I have always lived on campus. I actually live in Florida. So living on campus is kind of my only option, but I'm so glad that it was my only option. SWU does a really good job of making a community that becomes your family. And a lot of those relationships and community aspects come from your resident halls. So this upcoming fall, I will actually be an RA in those resident halls and in our apartments. So I'm so excited for that. But while here at SWU, I've also been involved with some other opportunities. We have a department here at SWU called SWU Activities, and I was a part of that for 2 years. And my job was helping to plan the different events and social things here on campus. And then I've also been a barista at our student-run coffee shop called Blue Hill here at SWU. And then through that job, I've been able to be promoted to a manager and then an intern. And so there's tons of places on campus for you to grow. And there's tons of places for you on campus to find things to enjoy and find things to get involved with. And there's always something going on, whether it's just hanging out in the coffee shop or whether it's a spring formal dance or whatever it is. Like, SWU is a great place to come and hang out, and whether that's in your resident dorm or just hanging out around campus.
I am from Georgia, so living on campus is pretty much the only option for me as well. But I definitely love everything about being on campus. I live in the newest residence hall, Joyner Hilson, which is a beautiful dorm, incredible community space, great place to live, great place to have friends and see people, have great conversations every day. One of the things that I get to be involved in as part of being at SWU that's really near and dear to my heart is I'm on a traveling ministry team called the University Singers. And one of the cool things about SWU is there's a lot of opportunities that you can participate in regardless of your major. And University Singers is one of those. So even though I'm not a music major, I'm an education major, I still get to be a part of a music ministry team that travels every weekend and sings at churches and schools and military bases. So that's one of the things that I love to do. I also love just being a part of different events on campus, the things that student government plans, that SWU student activities plans. There's always something going on around campus. And so regardless of whether you're a commuter or a resident, if you want to make friends, if you want to get out there and have interactions with people, there's always an opportunity to do that.
That's really great. Thank you. And Kennedy, you're from North Carolina, right?
So I graduated high school in North Carolina, but my current residence is in Florida.
Oh, okay. So we're not just South Carolina here. We do have a variety of folks. We even have international students who are in the education program. Let's just talk a little bit. You've already told us where you are in the program. Let's just talk about your passage through the program, because you're seniors now. You're getting ready for preclinical, pre-student teaching, and student teaching. And there's several steps that you have to go through that seem like, oh my gosh, I've got to do that. So first one is actually passing the praxis core, unless you make an ACT score of 22 or the SAT score of 1100. So if you want to talk just a little bit about actually being admitted, because you can come to SWU and be an education major, but you have to be officially admitted into the education program to take upper level courses. So would you talk about your journey through that?
Absolutely. So I was actually a transfer student into SWU. I did a few years at a different university in North Carolina. And so when I transferred into SWU, of course, I had all of the questions about, well, how is this going to work? What is expected? How am I even going to do all of this? But from your very first day, and not just for transfer students coming in at sophomore or junior level, but coming in from your very first day as a freshman, your professors literally walk you through the process each and every day that you see them. And so for me, that's been a very, I'm just going to say, humbling experience.
Mm-hmm.
I learned a lot of different programs and a lot of different things, to where it might seem a lot and overwhelming at first, but just kind of keep calm and just listen to your professors, because literally from the first day of class, they walked us through the first steps of applying to Lock 1 and building our portfolio, submitting that portfolio, and then moving on into Lock 2, and then into your clinical experience. And so every step of the way has been guided by our professors, students, and staff. So it's not been, I would not call it hard. I would say that it has been challenging at times, but if it's not challenging to me personally, then I don't feel like I'm really being pushed. And so I've actually enjoyed the process, and it's been exciting. Each time you get through a different lock, you're like, oh my gosh, I did it. So that's kind of my experience.
So when I started at SWU, I was a freshman. In that first year as a freshman, the professors at SWU are really trying to figure out your why. Why are you wanting to become a teacher? Why you want to do this profession? And you're just really taking the time to think about those things. And even the why behind through your path as a Christian or whatever, like why you feel like you will be able to share that kind of stuff as well with your students. And For me, I really appreciated that because it made me think my very first year, like, okay, why do I want to become a teacher and not my senior year type of thing, which I really appreciated. And then I was one of the lucky ones who got to exempt praxis core due to my test scores. So that was a huge weight off my shoulder. But those teachers definitely still made sure that like I did know what would be on the praxis core. I still took all the practice tests and stuff like that with the rest of my class, just so that I would be as prepared as possible. And then you go through an interview process with faculty and staff and other students who are already in Lock 2 or Lock 3. And basically you just talk about that why. And it was a really awesome experience because you get to know everyone in your degree path, whether they are a senior or you're a freshman. Like, you know everyone, and everyone is always so helpful. And same with the professors. Like, I have 2 professors who I see every single day for almost every single class, and they're the most loving, most joying people I've ever like had the experience to be taught by, and I'll always be thankful for them. And the one thing that I always really appreciated about SWU, and especially the education department, was that the professors really make sure that you are wanting to become a teacher for the right reasons, and that you are sure when you graduate that you want to be a teacher. So we go through lots of shadowing experiences, lots of practice teaching experiences, tons of mini lessons, and they always go through tons of different projects and stuff with us of different things that we could use in the classroom to build that portfolio. And then you go in and you start student teaching, and they really do prepare you the best that they possibly can before you get into the classroom. And I'm super excited to see what my last year at SWU has for me, and I just can't wait.
I was one of the fortunate ones like Kennedy who got to exempt the praxis, but I think with every major going into college, even with every class, you're going to have a lot of firsts. You're going to have a project or an experience or something that you've never done before that's supposed to be preparing you for what you want to do. And so with teaching, that's things like getting up in front of a room of people and talking about why you want to be a teacher, which can be a little intimidating at first, because even though you have it all like in your heart and it's a whole different other thing to share that with other people. And so I think, like Kennedy was saying, SWU helps you become confident in the reasons that you want to teach and the passions that you have, and helps you explore those passions more. And so for me, there have been different points along the way that I was definitely, nervous about at first, things that seemed intimidating, like your interview, like that first mini lesson. Every class where you have to start writing your own lesson plans and be subjected to critiquing and learning how to take feedback, and also getting to co-write lesson plans with other people and bounce your ideas off of others and glean information from other people, and then actually get up in front of a classroom of your peers and start teaching. Even though that can be a little intimidating, it really helps you grow a lot, and it also helps you bond a lot with your fellow students and your peers. And so I think it's fair to say that all of us in the education department are pretty close. We know each other pretty well. We've seen each other's lesson flops. We've seen each other's lessons succeed. We've all laughed and cried together through every step of this process. And so the great thing about being at a smaller school like SWU is that you have that opportunity to get to know each other really well. And so we know each other's personalities. We know what's going on in each other's personal lives. And so not only are we each getting to grow, but we're getting to see each other grow as well. And that's really awesome.
Yes, I'm glad you said that about a small community, because we celebrate our victories together. We support when we have opportunities to improve, and we pray for one another constantly. So, and you talked about passion. We think you should have a passion and a calling for teaching, because it's tough. It's tough to teach. Catherine, you talked about that first interview. Were interview nervous during that first interview or mini lesson?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. And for me, I was actually homeschooled for my entire education. And so even though I've always known I wanted to teach, doing that publicly is like, it's been a whole new thing for me because, you know, when I was a kid, I would teach all my stuffed animals little lessons with flashcards and stuff. But talking to a room of people who are already educators who have a ton of experience in education, it's like, oh my goodness, like, what are they going to think of me? You know, do I sound dumb up here? You know, but that's not the case at all. Everybody is so supportive and have really built my confidence in making me feel like, yes, I can do this. I can be a great teacher.
Colin, you've been through preclinical. Did you feel more confident, like you'd grown from your first interview? And these two ladies will be going through preclinical in the fall. So how did that, do you think it helped you?
There has been so much growth from the first day that I stepped into class at SWU until now. It's unreal, honestly. I want to touch it for a second. Kennedy talked about kind of in the beginning of the process how we really took time to figure out why we wanted to be a teacher, what that really meant to us. I think taking that time and understanding truly what a calling is, I think for me that was one of the biggest moments of growth, because of course I'd always said I wanted to be a teacher. I've been raised in a family of teachers, but I think for me really figuring out my why and figuring out what God really has in store for me and what God wants me to do with this, I think that's been a huge moment of growth. As far as going from preclinical into clinical, it's been an experience for sure, especially right now with COVID-19 and everything else going on, just kind of having to combat everything going on around us in the world, but then also staying focused on what we know for sure is true with our SWU community, with our social lives, with everything that we have going on. I think the biggest amount of growth has truly still been in my educational career, because through this time, I've still gotten the same amount of feedback. I've still gotten everything that I would typically get. Nothing has been left unfiltered. And so as far as growth in preclinical, I've learned so many different ways to do a lesson plan, which I love them. My lesson plans are a whole lot shorter now than what they used to be.
God bless.
And so,
Wait for
Yeah,
those
that you look
moments.
forward
I'm
to.
great.
yes. Those of you that are not quite there yet, just you'll make it. But it's been an awesome experience for someone to literally be there right by my side or through a computer screen, to make sure that I'm still learning everything that I need to learn.
So I'm glad you mentioned this. This is, I would hate to think it's the new normal, but it's the normal for now. So I would like for you guys to respond to the transition that we went from face-to-face to online, and how you felt like the teachers helped. It was difficult with preclinical, I know, but arrangements were made. So
I know for me, it was very difficult, to be just really honest with you, because where I'm at in my education, I'm in the phase to where we're constantly in the classroom. We had so many hours that we had to get per semester, per week, to be able to meet all of our requirements, not just for SWU, but also for the state of South Carolina. And so to be able to, or to have to quickly transition from face-to-face in the classroom with my students. I'm in a 5th grade classroom. And so to leave my 70 to 80 5th graders basically within a day, spring break, and we have not been back since. And so to basically have to kind of leave them in a day, to leave my professors in a day, that's been tough. But on the positive side, because I do believe that there is a positive and hopeful side to all situations, but on the positive side, it's really been a awesome learning experience. I feel that as if now through preclinical and through everything that I've done, I feel more equipped to even teach online. If virtual school is something that possibly continue, we don't know what the future really holds. But I feel like I've also been trained enough now by doing this for a month or so that I would be able to conduct a class online. And that's an awesome feeling, because I know that we've taken the time to discuss that, to talk about, well, what does online learning hold versus face-to-face? And so I think that's been one of the biggest supporters that I've had through this experience.
Yeah, for me, I will say that I was thankful that I was not in a classroom for a practicum experience this semester, because I don't know if my heart could have taken leaving those kids so quickly. And I commend those who were able to do that, because my heart would just break. But for the classes that I did have that moved from face-to-face to online, I would say it was difficult in the sense of your entire semester that you had planned, that you thought was going to happen, just got flipped on side of its head and rolled 500 times over. No one really knew like what that was going to look like, but I think the professors did an absolutely amazing job of moving all of those things online, to making sure that we also knew if we were ever put in this position, how we would have that. So those conversations were had with us, like, okay, like, this is what my thought process was going through moving this to online. Like, what would you have done differently? What do you like? What do you want to keep for possibly doing yourself? Because we don't know how long this is going to last. Like, we hope this is the new normal. I pray that this is not the new normal, but for now, this is the normal. So I think us as education majors learning how to be teachers, I think it was really awesome that our professors were not only able just to pretty much pick up where we left and just throw everything online within a few days, but also took the time to teach us of how they did it, why they did it, where they put things, like, and that in itself just shows like how much our professors care for us, because they don't just care about our academic grades, but they care about us in the future. And for that, I will be so forever thankful to my professors who were able to do that, because I feel even more confident going into the classroom now that I have resources that I can lean on when I am in the classroom outside of SWU if I need help with something, but also knowing that I have been prepared to critically think through those types of things. And so I really do feel like this prepared me to be a much better teacher.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I was in a practicum with kindergartners. I was actually doing 2 practicums in the same classroom. And so I was supposed to get so many more hours in there than I got to get. And I was completely heartbroken, because I went one day and I had no idea that I wasn't going to get to go back after that. And that was really difficult. But in addition to our SWU professors being so helpful with the online transition and talking to us about it, giving us guidance, I've also had a really special opportunity staying in touch with my teacher that I had been working with. And she has been sending me resources and telling me all about how they have continued. And even though my in-person practicum kind of came to an end, she's still been telling me, this is how we're making it work. This is what we're doing. And so it's been a blessing to get to see that application out in the real world of, this is how teachers who are doing exactly what I want to do, this is how, if I were in the education world as my own teacher at this exact moment, like, this is how people are making it work. That has been really awesome too. And none of us saw this coming, for sure. Caught us completely out of nowhere, but it has been so encouraging to have a faculty that has been so supportive of us and trying to help us stay on track and not freak out, and learn about all the technology and all the opportunities and resources that are available to us. And then also to have those ongoing relationships with the teachers that we've had the opportunities to come in contact with and work with, who are continuing to pour into us as well. That's really awesome.
Thank you.
Kind of going back for just a quick second. I, like Catherine, I've also still been able to keep in touch with my cooperating teacher, and they've given me the opportunities to even have virtual meetings with my classes, just like I would have seen them. So it's been a great process overall, to be able to stay in touch. My education group, my cohort group at SWU, we've been able to, like, all of the preclinical going into clinical students, we've literally talked every single day. We have our group chat and it is constantly blowing up. But just the love and compassion that not just students but also professors have shown us during this time. Like, I've had Zoom sessions with professors just to talk about how are we mentally doing, how are we spiritually doing, even about academics, them just checking on our well-being, because that this was a hard transition for not just us, but us then having to see our students as well go through this. I think I've appreciated more of them talking to me as a real person and not just a student. And that's been an awesome experience as well.
Thank you for that. I think back to the changes I would probably make in the instructional technology class, but hopefully some of those resources could be helpful for teaching online. And I probably would do more with video conferencing, but when you actually go out to start looking for a job and they say, can you teach online? You can share what you did for my class and your Lot 3 portfolio. Just let me just ask you, and you don't have to get in any big details, but sometimes students, prospective students will say, well, it's cheaper someplace else if I go someplace else. I respond that there are lots and lots of resources available to teachers that help them, because the nation, the states need teachers. So how has this experience worked with financial aid?
For me, being a transfer student, that was one thing that I definitely did worry about, because coming from a previous university, of course, I already had a few student loans and things like that already out there. And so, of course, I had the question of, so am I going to be able to financially afford going to SWU? The answer is absolutely yes. SWU has so many different programs set up, whether it's work study, a regular job on campus, whatever it is. SWU is so prepared to help you financially, to be able to get you here and keep you here. I think the biggest thing has been having professors to say, and having admissions counselors say, oh, you're going to be an education major. Okay, here's a list of scholarships and grants just for education majors, whether it's teaching fellows, South Carolina teaching grant, so many different things for just education majors going into the field of education. And then other things that SWU does, of course, like they will have different scholarships depending upon what you do on campus. I'm involved in choir and student productions, and so I get a fine arts music scholarship for being a part of those things. And so depending upon what you want to do and really what your need is, SWU's able to make it happen.
Yeah, for me, since I was an out-of-state student, I don't qualify for a lot of the South Carolina grants and scholarships, but that never was a worry to me because it's as simple as sitting down with one of the financial aid ladies downstairs, and they're so helpful, and they will dig through every website, every scholarship that they can possibly find to help you get as much money as you possibly can. So since I've been at SWU, I've received the church matching scholarship. So if your church donates money to SWU, you get some of that money back as a scholarship for tuition or whatever you need it for. I received book grants to pay for my textbooks. I have received Dean Scholarship, which basically says that if you complete a semester with a certain GPA, getting certain grades, with a certain average, you will receive scholarship money for basically just getting good grades, which is a pretty nice incentive to getting good grades. I've also received multiple donor scholarships. So Southern Wesleyan has tons of alumni and donors who really want to help students stay at SWU. So I've applied for those donor scholarships, and my first year I received 2 scholarships. My second year I received 4 scholarships, and we'll wait to see what senior year has for me. But SWU really does an amazing job of helping you financially so that you can stay here. And if they can't find the perfect scholarship to help you stay here, then they will keep looking for you. And that's one thing that I'll be forever grateful for SWU.
You also will have a residence hall assistant scholarship or work scholar. It's not really scholarship because you'll be working, but it does help come this fall.
Yes, so since I will be an RA, you also receive a housing discount on top of getting paid every month. So half of my housing will be slashed in half for this upcoming year because I will be an RA. And also this SWU has done a really great job with this whole COVID thing of helping students during this time, whether that's extra money here, or giving grants and scholarships when they can, which has been really helpful as well, just as, again, the semester was turned upside of its head. So it has been super helpful in every aspect of that.
I was also, as an out-of-state student, very worried about the price of going to college, of going to a private school and an out-of-state school. But when I visited campus, I just felt so strongly that the Lord was saying, this is where I want you. And he was like, you're just going to have to trust me that I'm going to provide the money one way or another. And the way he's done that has been a patchwork of all these different venues, all these different scenarios. $1,000 for this here, a choir scholarship for that there, doing online applications and bringing in a couple $100 here and there. But SWU has just been so helpful in finding those, helping you get those, and helping you stay. And they set up payment plans with you. They find websites with things you can apply for that you never had any idea existed. I am a work study student, so I work in the library on campus, and I get paid for that. Part of traveling with university singers, I get a stipend for that I'm able to use towards school. And so there's just a lot of different ways that God just kind of brings it together every semester and makes it happen. And so I can definitely tell anyone out there listening from personal experience, if this is where God wants you, God is going to provide the money to keep you here. And SWU is going to do everything they can to help with that process.
Absolutely.
I just wanted to touch on, and thank y'all for sharing that. I wanted to touch on, we have one South Carolina resident, and we have one from Georgia, one from Florida. The way this works, when you finish your degree, you are credentialed, you get a certification in South Carolina. However, we have reciprocity with other states, and in Florida, there's reciprocity. In Georgia, there's reciprocity. But in addition to taking praxis here, there's something called the GACE test, Georgia assessment. But people have not had a problem as far as being certified in the state that they want to teach in. I want to make sure that we knew that. If you're a South Carolina resident, there is the South Carolina teacher loan, which just increased to $7,500 that is forgiven. However, there's a federal Stafford loan that's $17,500. And what happens with those loans is kind of a misperception to say they're loans, because for every year you teach up to 5 years, 20% of that loan is forgiven.
Mhm.
So we want you to take advantage of all those things too, yes. And Kennedy, special education, there's a critical needs area with the federal government, and that's a loan, and that's forgiven too. So like you were saying, financial aid, they're awesome in what they do to help you and to work with you as far as doing that. This has been a great time with you guys. I just wondered if you wanted to say anything else before we close this session.
Really quick, I just want to, and I've seen this more and more kind of throughout my time, excuse me. I've seen this more and more throughout my time as an education major, being in schools and having those opportunities to talk to administrators and teachers. Education majors from SWU are snatched up. Our schools, not just in South Carolina, but in other states, if you graduate and your diploma and your certificate says Southern Wesleyan University education, administrators want you. The way that we're trained, the way that we are molded into educators, not just because we get summers off, and that's a myth. That is a very large myth. You're in school all the time. But we choose that and we love that. And but for whatever your why is of why you're doing this, SWU does a great job of molding us and making us into the best option of a teaching candidate possible for a job. And as I'm getting closer to the end of my time at SWU, which is really sad, but as I'm getting closer to the end of my time at SWU, I'm seeing that more and more every single day. And so if I could encourage anybody, if you don't think that SWU is for you right now, give it a chance. I encourage you to pray about it. I encourage you to visit the campus, whether it's virtually or if you live locally, just come walk through. There, I think everything is kind of opening up now a little bit. But on campus, there's an awesome prayer walk. It's not long at all. And that was one of the first things that I did, is that, which I grew up living in the area, moved away for a little bit, but now I'm back. I literally came to campus after I felt God telling me this is where you need to be. I did the prayer walk. I walked through, I saw the buildings, I saw people that I'd known from the area, and it just clicked. I said, this is where I need to be. And from that, I've not regretted a single second of my time at SWU.
Thank you.
Yeah, so some encouragement for you guys. I pretty much knew as soon as I stepped foot on SWU's campus that this is where I was going to go to school. So it was the very first place I had toured. And let me tell you, I went on all the other tours at all the other schools, and I was bored out of my mind. I knew in my heart and in my mind that SWU was where I was going to school, and that was it. And I will say that I will never regret my time here at SWU. SWU has been such a learning experience, personally, spiritually, emotionally, mentally, academically. Like, SWU really focuses on the whole person and not just the student. And I think that's been one of the biggest things of why I've loved being at SWU, and that there's just so many opportunities and in so many different avenues. And like Colin said, like, when administrators see that you are a SWU candidate or you're applying and you just graduated from SWU, like, that takes notice. They don't have to worry about the SWU students when they come in, because they know, like, we've been trained the proper way. We know the why of why we are teaching. Like, they want us there because they know that we want to be there. And I think that if for every second you hesitate about coming to SWU because of money or because of how far away from home you're going to be, know that when you get here, you will have a new home. You will have a family that you didn't know you needed nor wanted. But when you're away from campus and you're not with that family, you would do anything to be back. And I think that was one of the hardest things through this whole time of COVID, of not being with my friends and just like wanting to be back on campus, because SWU is a special place, and there's been very minimal places in my life that I have ever felt the energy that I feel here. And that's the spiritual aspect of this campus and the community aspect of this campus. So I would say that if you're ever debating about SWU with another school, I would say give SWU a chance, because it will definitely surprise you of the blessings that will come from this place.
SWU is absolutely a life-changing place in so many ways. College is a time for learning about yourself and growing and figuring out who you want to be and what you want to do and why you want to do it. And SWU is such an incredible community to do that in, because everybody on campus, whether it's your professors or if it's professors from an entirely different department on campus, whether it's the staff who are working in the post office or in the coffee shop, everyone knows everyone. There's just a spirit of community. You can feel God's presence on this campus. And I can't say how many times I have cried missing SWU since we've had to go online. And it's been a blessing to maintain relationships through technology, but nothing beats that face-to-face and being on campus. And I am already grieving in my heart being a senior and reaching a point where I can't be at SWU every day. But the other side of that coin is I know that this place is preparing me to be a great educator. And by the time I graduate, I'm going to be ready to hit the real world and to make a difference the way that SWU has made a difference in my life. And so absolutely look into SWU, have some conversations, meet some people. You're going to fall in love with this place, and it's going to change your life.
Thank you. I appreciate your sharing with us and telling your stories for SWU. I do think the reason your loyalty to school districts, but our disposition, the Christian ethic of care towards self, toward colleagues, toward community, and especially toward students, because you guys model it all the time. You model it in the classroom, when you go out to the schools, when you're in public, you model, and you're ambassadors for the School of Education. Before we close, I'd like to pray with us, because I just feel need to. Our Heavenly Father, we give thanks for these students and all the students at Southern Wesleyan University. We thank you for their talents, their skills, and their commitment to teaching. We ask that you continue to be with them and protect them and just keep them in the palm of your hand. We ask your blessings during this coming summer, and hopefully we pray that we will be back here in the fall together to spread your word. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Guys, thank you so much for sharing. I appreciate it. And it's good to see all of you.
You too.
Have a
Good to
great
see
rest
you.
of the summer. You notice that graduation is going to be on YouTube. So
Yes.
watch that. First virtual one I've ever been to. So anyhow, but they can still come in December too if they want to graduate in person. Have a great rest of the summer.